All right, you guys, I am finally back. I am so happy to be back. Things tend to get a little crazy when I go away. I have to tell you, when I jumped online and I saw all of the X trends, I wasn't exactly certain whether last week represented the preliminary trial of Tyler Robinson or Candace Owens. I mean, is everybody okay? What? Why do I seem to have this sort of an effect on middle-aged men? Did you see this? This is real. Those are my former employers, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies, can I just say that if your husband is striking poses in the mirror to look like Candace Owens, you have got to get him off of the internet. Anyway, can I just begin by saying the quiet part out loud? Please forgive me, I have to say it. Regarding the preliminary hearing, if you find yourself having to invite literal social media influencers into a courthouse, Erica, as in the actual job description of these human beings is to influence the masses about products or ideas. If you feel compelled to invite Benny Johnson, Department of War consultant Graham Allen, Brandon Tatum, people who you, for whatever reason, I'm not judging, did not choose to invite to Charlie's private funeral mass, but extended an invitation for them to come to the courthouse, the public may rightfully have some questions about your intent. Like right off the bat, that's an interesting move, Erica, right? Benny Johnson came right out of the gate and said, Erica asked me to be here. Okay, really? Why? Why did Erica Kirk request your presence there? I would have asked my cousins, my close friends, people I went to high school with, some aunts and uncles that don't annoy me to be there, but influencers, I don't think so. It's giving, I'm finally going to wear black, but I'm going to invite the glittery pantsuit. You know what I mean? It still feels like a show. And you guys, I have to tell you, I'm getting old. I really am. And one thing that I have learned in my ripe old age is that the truth never requires a marketing campaign. There's just never a budget line item for truth. Of course, the single craziest piece of news over the last week, and plausibly since the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that Ben Shapiro, who just makes everyone's skin crawl in a unique way, has offered up an unusual confession that as Charlie Kirk, his enemy, lay dying and bleeding in the backseat of the car en route to the hospital, an approximate 7-minute ride, someone in Charlie's car was providing Ben's security with updates over the phone while Charlie was in the car. That's massive. I got to say, for those of us who believe that there is mounting evidence that Israel put a hit on Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro receiving updates while Charlie was dying is not going to go a long way in terms of clearing up any conspiracies. So welcome back to Candace. Obviously not enough time in the day. We have so much to unpack this week. But you know what? Let's begin with a basic definition, class. What does it mean to be overwhelmed? Like actually, let's just start with the root word, whelm. The verb to whelm. Let's just pull a definition of that. To whelm is a verb meaning to submerge, to engulf, or to completely cover something, often with a disastrous effect. It can also mean to overpower or to overcome someone in thought or in feeling. So right now, there is a seemingly infinite number of influencers on social media who watched the Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing last week, and they reported back to us common folk that they came away from it and they were effectively drowning. They were submerged. They were engulfed. They were completely buried by the avalanche of undeniable evidence that Tyler Robinson murdered Charlie Kirk. I mean, they were so consumed that they all just began using that exact same adjective to express themselves. It is overwhelming. In fact, that has really been the key word since last year, right? It is the new wear a mask, save lives, 6 feet social distancing. The evidence against Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. Check out this little collage we put together of influencers who apparently need to pop a Xanax, right? The evidence is becoming overwhelming against Tyler Robinson. Thanks, Graham. Steve Deese, the podcast, today's podcast, an overwhelming evidence against Tyler Robinson. Paramount, not so tactical. The evidence against Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. Gunther Eagleman, the evidence is overwhelming, to say the least. Kind of feels like he's saying the most. Jack is quoting Don Trump Jr. As having said, the evidence against Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. That's just one page. Allie Beth Stuckey, Mike Lee, the evidence against Tyler Robinson could not be more overwhelming. He couldn't be more submerged. Andrew Colbert, it's overwhelming against Robinson. Whoever Bren is, it's overwhelming. Susie, it's overwhelming. Clay Travis, it seems overwhelming. Some people even went so far as to report that it was actually the most overwhelming thing that they have ever witnessed in their entire lives in the courtroom. Take it away, Josh Hammer, who happens to look like a Bond villain. Take a listen.
So to reiterate and to summarize what we've already said, the evidence presented this week just during the pre-trial evidentiary hearings in the Charlie Kirk assassin trial, the trial of Tyler Robinson, is the most overwhelming presentation that I have ever seen this early on during a legal proceeding in my entire life. Life.
Whoa, like his whole life. This is it. This is that moment. So I was in Spain and I said, let me buckle in. I too wish to experience that tidal wave of the exact same emotion being shared by all of these people. Apparently, though, me and Carrie Prejean Bowler, who I was traveling with, we watched an entirely different hearing. I don't know if it's different in Spain. I had wondered. Is it different if you don't have the eyes of Zionists? Because I did notice a little corollary, right? Amongst Zionists, there is an increased sense of the whelming happening when it comes to Tyler Robinson. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? Let's begin with a refresher on what exactly the Fed narrative was going into this hearing. Like, you have to remember the stuff that they say because they very quickly move on from these things. Okay, foremost, we were told over and over again that Tyler Robinson was turned in by his own family and that he confessed to the crime at various points. We were told his mother recognized him on the news. His father turned him in and they both made official police statements against their son. In fact, Bill Ackman, king of the Hamptons, immediately pledged $1 million to Tyler Robinson's father, Matt Robinson. Someone should check in on that $1 million, by the way. He pledged that for the brave act of Matt Robinson having turned in his son. Anyways, here's a clip of people telling us that that's what happened, and we were going to find that out.
I was having a discussion about how just as a father, how incredible it was to see, and just almost unbelievable it was to see Tyler Robinson's parents play a role in turning over their son.
Tyler Robinson and the video and footage of him were identified also by his parents as being Tyler Robinson.
Tyler Robinson's parents see that photo and think, that looks like Tyler. They begin asking him things like, where is I believe it was his grandfather's gun. Mm-hmm. They start asking him this. Tyler Robinson starts talking like he might kill himself. They get a friend of the family to sit down with him. He admits that it's him. They get him to drive up to Orem and turn himself in. His parents helped him turn him in.
They say no face, no case. No, his parents said, that's my son. And then he turned himself in, taking responsibility for shooting Charlie Kirk.
So we have 3 confessions here, one to his parents, one to his roommate, and one on Discord. Those local sheriffs were the ones who took the first statements from Robinson's parents, which identified Robinson as the shooter and provided the motive.
By the way, Allie, do you think that the parents of Tyler Robinson, if he was not guilty, would be making a stink about this if he was innocent? Have you heard a word from the parents? No, the parents were the ones that turned him in.
Turned him in, made statements against their son. Okay. The Fed narrative also stipulated that this was the left, right? We were supposed to instantly go to war over this. The right versus the left. It was a politically motivated killing. Tyler Robinson murdered Charlie Kirk. First crime he's ever committed. Decided to do that in broad daylight in a burning rage over LGBTQ rights, particularly trans rights, because he has a trans furry boyfriend named Lance Twiggs. Some hate just can't be negotiated, he wrote via text. Like, this is why I did it. Charlie Kirk, I took my shot because I can't stand to hear the hatred that Charlie Kirk spews regarding trans people. We were constantly reminded that there was going to be footage also of Tyler Robinson taking that shot, that it had simply not been presented to the public yet because it wouldn't have been appropriate at that early phase. We just had to wait, be patient. Erica herself told us back in November or December that she had seen the evidence and she was convinced it was Tyler Robinson by the time she sat down for that interview with Barry Weiss. Her mind was made up. That's the guy. No foreign involvement, no involvement of others. She doesn't need to see anything. Now, we were also told that Tyler's fingerprints and his DNA were found on the gun, and that was presented rather exclusively. They never wanted to mention any other prints, just case closed. This is our guy. We're overwhelmed. Okay, now what was our narrative here on the show? Because after months and countless hours of working on this case, chasing down every plausible lead, I maintained that Tyler Robinson's parents did not turn him in, okay? That was a mainstreamed lie, I said. Rather, he was peer pressured to come in by Mike Mitchell, the former undercover detective with the police force and also a family friend of the Robinsons, because he was Tyler Robinson's Boy Scout leader growing up. I maintained that Mike Mitchell actually was the one who was told that they were going to bring in Tyler Robinson. And he then went to Tyler Robinson's parents and said, look, you can do this the easy way or you can do this the hard way. No matter what, they're going to bring you in. So you're going to have a circumstance where they're going to bust in the door. Your parents could get hurt. You could get hurt in that process, or you can willfully come in. And he agreed to willfully go in, not confessing to a crime, but not wanting them to burst into his home and potentially harm him or his parents because he wasn't suicidal. I also expressed to you that Tyler Robinson was not political, crucial, and that he came from a family of Trumpers. I want to be clear that I have never denied that the gun found was indeed Tyler Robinson's gun, but rather I have asserted that the gun was not fired on that day and was not used to kill Charlie Kirk. Particularly, we stressed on this show that he had simply inherited the gun as a family heirloom because he is the firstborn son, but that Tyler himself was actually more of a fisherman. His brothers were the hunters. I also have suggested heavily from the beginning that Lance Twiggs is a federal asset who gathered Tyler's belongings to pin the crime on him. A very easy feat because he was his roommate and his boyfriend. And I suspect that Lance himself is heavily blackmailed because he was into some dark web stuff. I also noted the rather strange predicament that every single piece of evidence that the influencers are pushing relies on Lance Twiggs, who himself probably should be considered a person that might be guilty of participating in the events on that day, who for some reason was immediately granted immunity by the feds and was not allowed to even be cross-examined at this stage for this hearing. Despite arguments made that his testament would amount to hearsay, they allowed it to fly at this phase of, this is preliminary, we're just going to see if we go on. Now, regarding what took place on that day, we suggested that the feds intentionally flooded the zone with multiple decoys. Different young men, all brunette, all wearing similar outfits. We termed these our maroon boys, right? Decoys. Photos of 3 of them in a row right here. I said, why were so many men dressed like Tyler Robinson on this day? We showed you footage of many more of these men wandering, all of who fit the description of what we're about to see. And our biggest claim that we probably made on the show was that Tyler Robinson did not step foot onto campus on that day. At least that is what he told his family. That he was around campus, but not physically on campus himself. So in short, it should have been remarkably easy for people to debunk us, right? On this, very easy, while I was sitting there actually expecting, open and willing to have to concede at least 1 point for my investigation. I mean, I worked really hard to be perfectly accurate, but I was like, maybe he lied to his parents and he was actually driving on campus that day. All they needed to present to make me look foolish was one clear photo of Tyler Robinson on campus. What we got instead was footage of unidentifiable brunette males walking up and down the Losey Center steps at various points throughout the day. What was presented in court was a compilation video, which I would like to note was Exhibit 12.4 in court. Exhibit 12.4, That's going to become relevant later when we talk about the influencers who have sold their souls to the devil. 12.4 was a compilation of blurry male or males, plural, going up and down stairs, and people said, that's Tyler Robinson. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at this video of the males in 12.4 moving throughout the day, going up and down the steps. Here we go. And we're speeding this up, I think, right? Or we cut it short. This is the undeniable evidence that it's Tyler Robinson. And by the way, if you're feeling overwhelmed, please sit down and have a glass of water. We don't want anybody passing away looking at this. Undeniable. They're like, this is Tyler Robinson. This is just like attempted hypnosis. You're getting very sleepy. That's Tyler Robinson. That's Tyler Robinson. That's him. That's him. And by the way, I want to be clear. I can't meaningfully deny that could be Tyler Robinson. It could also be Lance Twiggs. It could be Ethan Hawke, Tom Holland, Timothée Chalamet in preparation for the final installment of Dune. Could be any of that. I couldn't reasonably deny that it's any of those young men or any one or number of the decoy boys on campus that day who I speculated all looked to me like they belonged in a military unit. Speaking of which, I think I forgot to mention to you guys that on the top floor of the Losey Center, of all things, it's UVU's military affiliated student hub, known as their MASH Center. It's literally a dedicated student center for student veterans and their families. So that's it. That's what we saw. We saw brunette males, maybe brunette males. I mean, could be a dirty blonde. I'm not ruling any A-listers out of being involved on this day. Actually, I'm just not convinced. Now, Lance, the star possible Fed witness, basically says it looks like Tyler in terms of his clothes. Like I recognize some of these clothes. He liked to wear jeans. I kid you not. That was his testimony. Take a listen.
Do you recognize the person in these images?
I wouldn't say it with 100% certainty just because of camera quality, but that looks like him in terms of the shoes he's wearing, the sunglasses. I don't think I'd specifically seen him wearing that hat, but he was usually wearing a hat, and then jeans. So it definitely, especially the bottom, the last two, definitely do look like him. Oh, they do look like Tyler Robinson.
Well, I'd say it's open and shut. He made it very clear that Tyler wears jeans, that he wears those shoes worn by, we should probably look up how many millions of people wear those shoes. I mean, I think I had 20 pairs of those shoes throughout my lifetime. But he doesn't recognize the hat, not one of his hats. But he does like to wear jeans. And what are those Chucks he's wearing? Like, there we go. That rules it out. Really convincing. So I'm thinking, let's move beyond that, okay? Blurry video compilation 12.4. Surely they're going to be able to show us Tyler's car on campus. Because what would be the point of a parking lot surveillance system that doesn't capture the license plates on cars? That would just be foolish and a waste of our time. Why would you even have an entire surveillance system installed on campus that can't identify any faces or any cars at all? So the question is, did we get a clear photo? I was like, maybe he was actually driving around camp. No, we got more blurry images of what appears to be, judging by the car's exhaust pipes, a totally different Dodge Challenger from the one that Tyler Robinson was driving, okay? Here is what was shown. This is a car, this is his Dodge Challenger, and I want you to pay attention to those exhaust pipes at the bottom. We're going to zoom in there, okay? You are noticing that is a dual exhaust pipe. You see two, right? These are your eyes. I know the final instruction is don't believe your own eyes, but I'm asking you to believe your own eyes here. Well, Robinson's car, here's a still of the car, which is clearer, which was towed out of his driveway, features not a dual exhaust pipe exhaust system, but it's singular. Okay, that's a major discrepancy that people are rightfully pointing out, amongst other things. I got tons of emails from car people giving me specifics about why this, you basically, when you order the car, you can order different things. We don't need to get into the nitty gritty. Just believe your own eyes on the car front. Now, if you're thinking, Candace, are you suggesting that someone else could have, I don't know, rented a Dodge Challenger and been driving around a gray Dodge Challenger just so they could get images and say that it was Tyler Robinson's car? Well, actually, you don't need me to suggest it. Actually, a witness confirmed that they saw someone else driving a gray Challenger, particularly a bald guy driving the Challenger late at 12:47 a.m. You know, there was that Nest video that captured him returning to campus at 12:47 a.m. around campus. The woman who captured that footage testified to police that she saw a bald man accompanied by 3 other people in the car. Take a listen.
Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Ring camera that you obtained, and you interviewed a woman named Ms. Noble, is that right? To get that Ring camera that we watched with the car on the outside?
We interviewed her to verify the authenticity of the video, yes.
And were you involved in that interview?
With Miss Noble, yes.
And do you recall what they told you about what they remember seeing in and around that car that night?
I don't recall. I just know we were there to verify the video. I didn't conduct an interview with Miss Noble at that time.
And do you remember that the Nobles told you that the driver of the vehicle was bald?
I do remember that being in the report, yes.
And you didn't mention that today when you were talking about that Ring camera, did you?
I did not.
And did they also tell you there were 3 other people in the car?
Yes, I believe they thought that was the case.
Forgot to mention when we showed you this evidence of Tyler Robinson's car that the person who captured it said that they saw a bald man and 3 other people. By the way, paging Blake Neff, he did this weird X Live that we're going to talk about tomorrow where his memory gets really fuzzy that evening. Apparently, a few of the people at Turning Point USA, despite Charlie dying, went out later that night and don't necessarily recall what they were doing. I think we got to try to help them figure it out, okay? Anyway, we told you early on that it is highly unlikely, despite what looks to us to be like Fed drafted text messages, that Tyler returned to campus to, as his text messages say, watch the K-9 officers to babysit his rifle, because we broke the story that Tyler was eating a steak down in Panguitch. He concluded and paid at 9:47 p.m. There's a literal receipt for that because, as we said, he paid with his debit card. So we can timestamp him 3 hours away at 9:47 p.m. when he's apparently texting Lance. It's his 3-hour ride. So when Lance says that he gets his phone and he's getting an automated message and they start talking, and Tyler, he says the first message came in at 11 p.m. Well, 11 p.m., I can tell you right now that drop everything and look under your keyboard at 11 p.m. He says that's an automated message. And then him and Tyler begin texting. And he's like, oh, I'm babysitting things out here in Orem. I'm waiting to go back and get my, like, how is that possible? If at nearly 10 p.m. he's leaving Panguitch. He couldn't have been babysitting the campus. This is the problem. The messages are problematic, and that's why they're not timestamped. He could not have been doing what he said he was doing, texting Lance after 11 p.m. Or he decided not to mention that he got pulled over by a police officer around 12:30, and he was just texting him in earnest. None of the text messages make sense, and we're going to need timestamps. By the way, just a little fun ad that the messages were apparently extracted by a company based in Tel Aviv. Israel is taking care of the Lance messages, guys. Trust the science. Let's pull these up, by the way. Let's pull these messages up, okay? 11 p.m., allegedly automated. Nobody knows why he sent an automated message. Drop what you're doing and look under my keyboard, he says. Lance, what? You're joking, right? F, I tried to delete that, Tyler comes back with. I am still okay, my love, but I am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. It's very Gone with the Wind. I love that. I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. Oh, gosh, I know. He shouldn't have said old age because the Fed narrative is that he was suicidal. It's a bad thing to say that. You weren't the one who did this, right? I am. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude. They interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Like, I'd like some timestamps here. I'd like to make it work with Tyler going to get a steak in Panguitch, driving 3 hours to Panguitch, and then turning around and coming back. Just 6 hours of driving and eating is not coming across in these messages. And then we have here, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate just can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, this feels to me like a person who is not native to speaking English, American English, is translating. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen is not what we say. That's just not how we speak. You can say it, but it's not how we would say it. I will have left no evidence, going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything in the news about them finding it. I will update you by midnight. Here is what I would like to do. It is very important for us to establish, because he is speaking about the canines. And I think I can, by the way, I can back channel because I talked about the canines on the show and I can go back to that source. But if you have information related to when the canines were brought on to the scene, please email us, tips@CandaceOwens.com. That will allow us to get a timestamp in there, because he says he's observing the canines going back and forth. And this could be exculpatory evidence. The Panguitch steak, and I think my gut has been right from the beginning, our gut, everyone's gut, that these messages feel a little Fed sloppy Joe. More tips@CandaceOwens.com or tips@CandaceOwens.com if you know what time the officers had the canines there on the scene. Anyway, noticeably missing was any of that shock testimony regarding Tyler's parents' statements turning their son in. Again, we got to get an update from Bill Ackman on the mill. That's a cool mill. It's a lot of money. To the contrary, there was plenty of testimony regarding how Lance Twiggs's prints were on everything: the towel, the gun, the Dremel that was used to carve out the messages on the cartridges. Lance claims, you want to know his alibi is for that day when Charlie was shot or had an exploding mic? Lance claims that he slept in until 1 p.m. How convenient. Charlie gets hit at 12:23 and Lance actually slept 37 minutes beyond that on September 10th. So convenient. And then he woke up. Here are some more devastating points of this hearing, okay? Lance confirmed my report that Tyler was not political. If Lance is to be believed, then their entire leftist rage motive about LGBTQ rights virtually just disappeared, okay? Take a listen.
Did you and he ever talk about politics?
He did more than me. I still don't really keep up with politics very much. He'd usually talk about stuff he heard on the radio on his drive to work in like their work car, since it sounds like their whole crew went in the same car most of the time. But I wouldn't say super consistently, because it wasn't a topic I really contributed much on.
What about Charlie Kirk? Did he ever talk about Charlie Kirk?
I personally had never heard him talk about Charlie Kirk before specifically.
Okay. How about political issues? So did you ever talk about gender identity issues and LGBTQ rights?
No, not really. Usually if he did talk about politics stuff, it was relating to Trump or current policies being issued or voted on, I think. But yeah.
Oh, I think we reported that there was a family filled with Trump supporters, and you're telling me just he would maybe hear something on radio and talk about a policy issue. Didn't seem to stress that he hated Trump there. You never heard him speak about LGBTQ issues. Are you telling me that people were trying to essentially launch a civil war between the left and the right, and the very people who claim to be fighting that sort of stuff were actually trying to instigate it, trying to instigate that left versus right, gay versus straight. This was being initiated by the right because they just couldn't wait to hear anything beyond what the Fed was serving. But there was even more explosive testimony, believe it or not, and it got really scientific. And it came from the ATF on the final day. This is actually my view of the reason that the influencers went positively insane and suddenly pretended that they were made privy to some 4K HD video footage of Tyler Robinson taking the shot on the roof. They, of course, were lying through their teeth. We're going to get to that later. But I believe that the reason they did it, the reason why they went insane, was to overcome the testimony of Caitlin Oliver, okay? Caitlin Oliver was the ATF's forensic biologist, and she gave a devastating testimony it was devastating to the prosecution. And these are the major points from that testimony, okay? First, she explicitly admitted that the media's assertion that Tyler Robinson's DNA was found on the gun was, and I quote, a scientifically indefensible statement. Take a listen.
From a scientific standpoint, you couldn't read the paragraph that sets out the likelihood ratio in your report, whatever the number, and then blast a headline in the media, Mr. Robinson's DNA is found on this item. That's a source attribution, is it not?
Correct, yes.
And that would not be scientifically defensible, would it?
Correct.
Tyler Robinson's lawyer then goes through great pains to show that the media and the influencers took what was essentially scientific jargon and they lied. And I'm going to explain that to you. So I want you to lock in, okay? You may have heard them over and over again stipulating that Tyler Robinson was a major contributor to the DNA sample, right? So if you're uninitiated and you hear that, it sounds like it means Tyler Robinson's DNA was all over the gun. He's a major contributor to the DNA sample. But it actually does not mean that at all. And I want you to take a listen to what she says, and then I'm going to break it down for you further so that you can understand what they did here.
And you can't tell us anything about when the DNA was deposited on the trigger guard or the trigger, correct?
Correct.
You can't tell us anything about whether, when you say it's at least 4, it could be 5, 6, or 7 people with DNA on that trigger or trigger guard, correct?
Correct, which is why we have the major contributor that is suitable for comparison, and the minor contributor is not suitable for comparison due to that complexity.
And again, major, minor just has to do with the levels of DNA you were seeing. It has nothing to do with someone being engaged in activity that is major in relation to the minor contributor.
Yes, so the major contributor is the majority of the DNA contributed to that sample.
Okay.
So I'm going to break that down further and why this is really big, and we're building on something else that she's going to say that is explosive. So the idea of what she's explaining is that, like, this is my mug. I drink out of this mug every day. So I definitively would have the most DNA fingerprints all over this mug. But occasionally, Ashley, my producer, will go fill up the mug. So let's say Ashley, when she fills up the mug, I'm all on the handle. Maybe Ashley just touches her 2 fingers here when she fills up the water, okay? She is saying that these are mixed samples. So let's say they just took a sample right here of where Ashley happens to have touched it, but it still also has my fingerprint on it. Ashley could be described as a major contributor to the DNA sample, despite the fact that this is my mug and the majority of this mug has my DNA on it. Ashley could be described because they just carved out that one portion, which happens to have Ashley's DNA on it. So they intentionally misconstrued the intention of the ATF report when they were relying on a sample in which Tyler Robinson was the major contributor of that particular mixed sample. And he also went through great lengths to explain to people why they don't use, since 1996, they actually don't rely on mixed samples for that very reason, because it confuses matters. They try to isolate samples. She then confirms our repeat report, as you just heard her, that there was a minimum of 5 sets of DNA on some of these mixed samples, 4 sets of DNA. Could be more people that actually were also found on the gun, but prints which were found on the gun, which of course included Lance Twiggs. It also included Matt Robinson, Tyler's father. I'm going to guess that it also included his brothers. And of those multiple sets, and this is what is crucial and is explosive, and everyone should have reported on this. She reported that Tyler Robinson's DNA sample was the most degraded. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Tyler Robinson, despite all of these prints on the gun, Tyler Robinson's prints were the most degraded, or his DNA was the most degraded. And I'm going to explain that in a second. Take a listen to her say that.
The 1.3 sample is described as swabs of trigger and trigger guard, right?
Correct.
You didn't do the swabs, but am I correct that you have no way of knowing which part was from the trigger and which part was from the trigger guard?
Correct. So they were swabbed together, so I wouldn't be able to say where the DNA came from.
And that's one of the samples that was degraded, correct?
There were signs of degradation present in that sample, yes.
And you said with regard to that sample, that that was a sample consistent with at least 4 contributors, right?
Correct.
And did what you term the major profile have the largest amount of degradation in that sample?
There was, yes.
Exhibit 1.3, do you know where that swab was taken from?
I'd have to refer back to page 2.
Can we refer back to page 2, please, Kimberly? Thank you.
1.3 is the swabs of the trigger and trigger guard of the rifle.
All right, going back to page 5. And we've had some talk, some testimony from you and some questions for you about the likelihood ratios. What was your conclusion as to the likelihood ratio that you analyzed in this question in calculation number 3?
I don't think we need this.
The DNA profile was at least one.
Okay, so you heard her say that his was the most degraded of the firearms, and she's talking about the trigger guard and the trigger. She's not sure where they got the sample from, and that's a huge difference because they kept saying that his DNA was on the trigger, and she's admitting it could be the trigger guard. That's just the cover for the trigger. And of all of the samples that were on there, Tyler's was the most degraded. That is an absolute bombshell. And let me explain why. Okay, because it's not possible. For clarity, earlier on, she discusses that DNA can stay on an object for a very long time. She doesn't get specific. I can tell you, and you can research this on your own, DNA can stay on an object for decades, okay? But over time, it can certainly degrade. It can degrade because it's been exposed, and she does testify to humidity over time. Dust particles begin to set in. If you just put up your grandpa's gun and dust particles are just sitting in your house because you don't use it, that would be a reason that it might degrade. Maybe you had water on it, it might degrade. It does not seem to me that DNA would suddenly degrade immediately after someone shoots a person, jumps off a rooftop, and tosses the gun into a nearby bush. Okay? This registers to me as more evidence that Lance Twiggs simply took Tyler Robinson's family heirloom of a gun and helped the feds set him up as a patsy. There is no reason why Lance Twiggs's prints are less degraded than Tyler Robinson's prints on this gun if Tyler Robinson is the shooter. It is a massive admission by her that his prints were degrading, given how much it takes to degrade those prints. So that was something that I felt that they were intentionally trying to gloss over, and realizing that she's basically kind of asserting like Matt Robinson and Lance Twiggs had a stronger DNA sample than Tyler Robinson did. He was the most degraded. And then, of course, when you couple this with the day earlier, the ATFs, every time the ATF spoke, it was devastating for the prosecution. The ATF ballistics expert was a woman named Samantha Carner. She spoke on day 4, and she similarly gave testimony that was very in the weeds and scientific. And whenever they do that, I just start researching the numbers they're saying, because I know that there's a point being made. And Tyler Robinson's defense did a very good job of asking her to read her report of the diameter range for the bullet jacket fragment. By the way, it was weird off the bat that they said they took 7 fragments from Charlie's body. She testifies that she only received 4 of them in an envelope, in a manila envelope. So 3 disappeared. Of the 4 that she got, 3 of them were unusable. And then she was left with 1, which she labeled 6A. And that's what they're discussing, this bullet jacket fragment. And she gives this a range of diameter, and it describes in detail why she gave it that range and how confident she was that you were looking for a bullet that would be in this range of a diameter. Take a listen to this testimony and the range that she gives.
The range of the diameter for the 6A bullet jacket fragment was 0.286 to 0.301 inches.
The reason why that matters is because it's too small for Tyler's 30-06. That's why he was going through great lengths to get her saying that on record, because a 30-06 would begin at 0.308. And then it goes upward. The cartridge diameter goes upward to 0.471. So she's basically admitting it's not Tyler Robinson's gun. I would love to see this go on. I would love to see this go further because, well, if people are going to be able to see the full extent of this trial, you are going to really appreciate the psychological campaign further that is being employed right now, the audacity of these influencers. We return now to Exhibit 12.4, okay? 12.4, again, is the original compilation footage. It's the footage of Tyler Robinson or Timothy Chalamet, right? Or Timothy Chalamet. Maybe it's Ben Shapiro. I don't know. Maybe Ben Shapiro's a little too short, but any brunette male, right, of a decent height could be walking up these stairs. And they're giving us this compilation of parking garage footage plus footage of Tyler Robinson jumping onto the rooftop. They made it clear on day 2 of the trial that 12.4, this compilation, does not show Tyler Robinson taking the shot, okay? They made that perfectly clear, and take a listen to that.
If you wouldn't mind just describing in a bit more detail what this compilation includes.
The compilation shows the movements of the individual believed to be Mr. Robinson on Utah Valley University campus, arriving and leaving in a vehicle, arriving and leaving on foot, and then returning and leaving, and then attempting to gain access again in a vehicle. And his movements throughout the day are included in the videos also.
Is there any footage of the alleged shooting?
There is not, Judge.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. So 12.4 does not have any footage, did not capture footage of Tyler Robinson actually taking a shot, who they believe is Tyler Robinson actually taking a shot. Also on day 2, they discussed a piece of footage that was born from 12.4, okay? They discussed it, and it was an exhibit that was labeled 12.1. It was the same footage as 12.4, which we've all seen. That is available. You can go watch that entire footage. You can watch that day 2 of the trial. It is the same footage, but except they claim that they enhanced the footage, and they were very clear about what that meant. This was a whole back and forth about what does it mean you took 12.4 and you enhanced it, and here is what they said 12.1 was. Take a listen.
Let's return again to what's been marked Stakes Exhibit 12.1. Again, you've reviewed that video.
Yes.
And the difference between 12.1, or what's been marked as Stakes Exhibit 12.1, and 12.4 are, if I understand you correctly, are these enhancements that we've been talking about.
Yes.
And specifically, what Be specific about the enhancements, and let's go one at a time.
Okay.
I think there's a reference to either red circles or red highlights.
Correct.
That's how Mr. Olson described it. Red highlights.
Yes.
Do you know what he's or what is he referencing by the red highlights, or what do you believe he's referencing?
I believe he's referring to red ovals or circles that were placed over the image to identify specific individuals of note.
I think the next enhancement that has been mentioned that we've talked about is there's some blurring.
Yes.
Do you know what that? Tell us what that is. What blurring do you see in what's been marked as State's Exhibit 12.1 that you now don't see in 12.4?
If I recall, there were some individuals in the parking garage footage, and their faces were blurred.
Excuse me. Is anything other than faces being blurred? And then the last thing is, I believe, is there's some zooming in and zooming out that's in 12.1 that has been removed
yes.
from 12.4. What can you tell us about the zooming in and the zooming out?
Predominantly, it's in the area that was referred to as viewing the Losi building rooftop. I believe it focuses on the area where Mr. Robinson comes up the stairs and onto the rooftop. Those portions of that particular footage were zoomed in for clarity.
So to reiterate, 12.1 is simply an enhanced video of 12.4. What enhanced means is that it zooms in at the end on the Losi Center portion. When we just see a blur running across, they said we zoomed in on this. And I don't know about you guys. My experience is that when you zoom in, things become less clear on my phone, but I've never claimed to be a tech genius. We're also told that it features highlights, and they've added some red circles like we do often on this show. And they also decided to blur some faces of other people that were in the background during the parking lot shots. They made this clear. Beyond that, they actually showed 12.1 already in court, but it was for the judge and the witness only, except they made a mistake. And they accidentally left their computer open, so Court TV captured some of that footage. And you can see that it is literally the exact same video as 12.4, but it's been zoomed in. So great work from this ex-user at CanCon for catching that. I don't know if we can pull that up, Sky. Around the 2:35 mark, he zooms in and shows the video. Actually, did you pull that link by any chance? Yeah, let's play that. Let's play this link so you can actually see it yourselves before we watch how the influencers reacted. There they are watching it on the screen.
Okay, now you can see that this is the top right quadrant that you would be looking at when the camera moved to where Robinson jumps off, allegedly Robinson jumps off the roof. Now, you can't see this here because it's a little difficult. I'll zoom in as much as I can so you guys can see, but the clear identifying image of Tyler Robinson, you're going to see it on this screen. And again, this is at 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 27 seconds on Court TV's day 2 of the trial. Okay, so you're going to see here, correction, it's 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 30 seconds. He's running across now. I don't know if you can see it, because all he is a pixel. That's all he is a pixel. He's running across right now, watch.
I can see it. Just saw the pixel.
That's it. That's the enhanced version that everybody wants to condemn this guy on. Again, I'm not saying one way or the other here. I am not saying one way or the other here. But that's the enhanced photo that everybody has seen in the courtroom. That's it. It was leaked by the state. It was on one of the state attorneys.
Fantastic work. He is correct. I fact-checked that. We looked at it. We saw them go back and forth about why they didn't want to play it for the public. And sure enough, they made a mistake and accidentally played it for the public. That blur that you just saw. Now, granted, obviously, we're looking at a video of a video, but that's the video. That's it. And it's born of 12.4, which you are free to watch yourself on day 2 of the trial. And you can zoom in yourself and you can see it's still blurry. There is nothing identifying about Tyler Robinson. But that's not why Erica asked the influencers to come, right? She didn't ask the influencers come to demonstrate the truth or be honest about what they saw. So here is Benny Johnson's reaction to the video. Take a listen.
We're outside of the 4th District Courthouse here in Utah. The Charlie Kirk preliminary murder trial just wrapped. We were there and witnessed everything. And you have to hear this because it was devastating what we watched. And the judge ruled that you can't see the high definition quality video 4K of
4K.
Tyler Robinson committing the murder of Charlie Kirk. But we saw it, and they played it on giant screens inside of the courthouse. You can see clearly Tyler Robinson's face. You can see crystal clear the license plate number on his vehicle, his movements on the rooftop. You can time it up to when Charlie Kirk was murdered. And what you also couldn't see was what happened inside of the courthouse. Erica Kirk was sobbing in the arms of her mother-in-law, Charlie's mother, Mrs. Kirk. Feet away is Tyler Robinson, pale, sallow, bony, emaciated, staring at the floor the whole time. Twitching and looking straight ahead, refuses to watch the video, refused to make eye contact with the family. Emotional day. The judge played all 20 minutes of the high definition security footage, and the whole courthouse gasped when it was over. It was really tough to watch. The prosecution has a demonstrable, overwhelming case. They said that multiple times. The defense has nothing. They asked minutiae questions about DNA evidence, but the judge was just chewing them along as we get to this 4K video reveal that will eventually be made public. It's already a case that is overwhelming against Tyler Robinson, but once you see this video, you will cast out all of the demons that have been attacking the Kirk family. It has been one of the most grotesque demonic evils that have been visited upon innocent people has happened to this beautiful family. Once you see all of the evidence that we saw today, it's over. And that's what the lawyers said today. Please pray. Erica Kirk asked us to do this. Pray for a speedy trial. We have a right to a speedy trial here. It's in our Constitution. We don't have to wait years in order to get to a trial phase here. We want justice to be done. Justice has to be done in this case, and done immediately. So please pray for the Kirks. They've been through enough. Time for justice for the widow. And just a word to all the Christians out there. The Bible calls us in the Old Testament, the New Testament, to defend the widow, to defend the orphans, to provide for her, and to stand up for her. And so be a Christian today, be upright. Please pray for justice in this case and a speedy trial. Thank you. God bless you.
It's so shameless and grotesque and dishonest, and the amount of money being spent on this for these emotional assets to come out and wax poetic and then not realize they made a mistake, and now they're all kind of backtracking, being like, oh no, it doesn't actually show him get shot, but it shows him getting into the prone position, and oh, they didn't realize that they had no idea when they all started making these videos to cover up the minutia of the DNA evidence. They were talking about the DNA evidence. Don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to the video that we're telling you was exclusively shown to us, which is, like, it's crazy, but it was so clear at the very end of day 5, they showed the influencers. 4K HD, perfectly clear. Everyone else was spending 9 hours a day watching every day of the hearing, but they waited till the end to give this gift to the same influencers who have been trying to help the government wage a war against our minds. This is a psychological operation. It is failing. It is, like I said, requiring an unbelievable amount of money. And now I get why they had to file for FARA, right? Like, I mean, people are getting paid. There is no other explanation for how people could lie like this. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm shocked at Benny Johnson. I've never had an issue with Benny Johnson. This gives me an issue with Benny Johnson. How do you lie like that? All of the influencers who came out and lied, this word overwhelming. The reason why they do that sort of repetition, just so you guys understand, is because it's proven effective in the past. It used to work. How many of you guys watching this right now did actually lock down at home and believe that you were going to die from COVID? Wear a mask, 6 feet social distancing. The evidence is overwhelming against Tyler Robinson. They have shown, right, over the course of many decades that these sorts of psychological operations work. If you repeat something enough times, it can become true for some people, even if it defies common sense. Like I said, I was willing to concede points. Like, I've been investigating. It's possible we got something. Nothing that they presented. In fact, the contrary was presented. It's not minute when they're talking about the DNA. It's not minute when the ATF is saying that the most degraded sample was Tyler Robinson's on not the trigger, or not clear if it's the trigger or the trigger cover. That's not minute. That is a crucial detail in which somebody's going to have to explain. Somebody's going to have to explain why Lance Twiggs is not being considered a suspect when his DNA is on everything, more of his DNA than Tyler's on the gun. That requires a logical explanation, not a unit of influencers that are taking money trying to convince us of the opposite. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a war for your mind. I think you understand that. And they put me on trial in a variety of ways. And I don't actually care because I'm built for this. I am not going to watch Charlie Kirk, my friend, be assassinated in broad daylight, watch everyone turn their back on him for money, and sit back idly and allow it to still go. That doesn't work for me. And actually, I am so rested right now and so ready for war that if the last 9-10 months was basically me feeling weakened, having watched that in a state of mourning and feeling like every day I was just sort of coming up for air, they're not going to like what comes next because I'm 100% ready for it. And one of the biggest bombshells, which we're going to cover when we get back from a break, I know we're over time, but we got to do it, is Ben Shapiro's admission. We'll be right back. All right, you guys. So, I recently went on a trip to Russia and it completely shattered my preconceptions because I was always told Russia was some miserable cultural backwater. Then you actually go there and realize how much we just don't know about what's really happening in the world. Like how Russia is a part of the reason why the dollar has lost nearly 1/3 of its value since 2020. That's true. And here's why. Because when Biden administration froze hundreds of billions of dollars that belonged to Russia in response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, countries around the world took notice. They realized that the United States could use the dollar as a political weapon. And for decades, America's economic strength has really depended on the rest of the world using U.S. dollars and investing in America. But now many countries are waking up and they're trying to rely less on the dollar. Instead, they're buying gold at record levels. Central banks now hold more gold than dollars. Even billionaire investor and founder of the world's largest hedge fund, Ray Dalio, has recommended holding up to 15% of your investments in gold. Based on the growing demand for gold, Deutsche Bank projects gold could reach $8,000 an ounce by 2031. Today, it's around $4,000. Central banks and some of the world's biggest investors are buying more gold. Maybe it's worth considering doing the exact same thing. I'm a proud partner with the most honest source for gold, which is Battalion Metals, the company that Tucker Carlson co-founded. Visit battalionmetals.com/Candace to explore their collection of fair-priced gold and silver. No upsells, no gimmicks. That's battalionmetals.com/Candace and enter code Candace at checkout so they know that it was me that sent you. I also remind you guys about dose because did you know that more than half of the average American diet is made up of ultra-processed foods? Every day we're eating foods that didn't even exist a generation ago, and we expect our bodies to keep up with all of it. Your liver is your body's daily filter, performing more than 500 functions every single day, and when it gets overworked, you feel it. You might wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep, feel bloated after meals, or notice that you're more sluggish, foggy, and just not quite yourself. A lot of people chalk it up to just getting older, but feeling that way should not be something that you accept. That's why I take Dose for your liver. Dose is a highly absorbable liquid supplement taken in a daily 2-ounce shot that tastes like fresh orange juice. It's a plant-forward formula that is clinically backed to promote liver function and cleanse the liver of unwanted stressors that may be slowing it down. People who take Dose consistently report less sluggishness, fewer midday crashes, better digestion, and even less bloating. New customers can save 35% on their first month's subscription by going to dosedaily.co/Candace or by entering code Candace at checkout. That's dosedaily.co/Candace for 35% off your first month subscription. And I want to remind you guys about Cozy Earth because being pregnant in the middle of the summer, it's no joke. Between the heat, restless nights, and constantly trying to get comfortable, getting good sleep can feel almost impossible. That's why I've been loving our Cozy Earth sheets because they are unbelievably soft, lightweight, and they are breathable, which makes such a difference on those hot summer nights when I'm already overheating. They've helped make sleep so much more comfortable. And the best part is that Cozy Earth stands behind everything that they make with a 100-night sleep trial on their sheets that you can try them out risk-free. So if you're looking for a simple way to make summer nights a little more comfortable, especially if you are pregnant, I cannot recommend them enough. Made from viscose bamboo, breathable, soft, and built for summer, head to CozyEarth.com and use my code Candace for an exclusive 20% off. That's code Candace for an exclusive 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, mention that you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Charlie Kirk was betrayed. That is evident. He's being betrayed every single day. I can't wait to get into Turning Point USA and the crash out they had online. Andrew Colvett finally coming up to the surface. Deceitful, the Judas, no question. My dream was on point about who he is, and everyone is now seeing his character. So much so that Ben Shapiro actually ventured out to tell the truth about him and Charlie's relationship, while Andrew really was going to say that Charlie and Ben were friends. It is actually one of the markers for me that something was very wrong was how instantly involved Ben Shapiro was. I said this on the show. I said, Ben Shapiro is acting really weird. He never liked Charlie. Charlie never liked him. This is a known fact. Anybody who knows Charlie Kirk knows that he did not like Ben Shapiro because Ben Shapiro attempted to stop Charlie from rising. It's just a fact. Like everybody else, when he began his career, ooh, that's cool. It's Ben Shapiro. I'd love to work with him. And then you find out about Ben Shapiro's character and how he operates behind the scenes to stop people. Just like Megyn Kelly has had that experience recently. It is just who Ben is. It's how he was raised. And apparently it has a lot to do with his father, who controls accounts and uses pen names to write nice stuff about his son and follows him wherever he works. There is a psychopathology there without question. Now, I kept saying that I don't know how, but I do feel that somehow Ben Shapiro was tied up in this. I'll pick up the bloody mic. He races to give $1 million. His company is suffering, but he's giving $1 million, Turning Point USA. Erica allows him to open despite what she knows, which is that her husband didn't like this guy at AmFest. What is going on here? What is actually happening here? Then there was this really strange phone call that I had with Matt Walsh, and I did not know that Ben Shapiro was in town on this date when I had the phone call. I'll talk about that another time because we are pressed for time, but I explained to my team, I made it clear to them on that December day that I just feel like Daily Wire is somehow more involved in this, and I don't really know how. Well, guess what? The answer arrived. Ben Shapiro shared something that is stunning. It is crazy. When we left, we were talking about this car ride. Something is not right about this car ride to the hospital, which Brian Harpole is suing me over and using Ben Shapiro's lawyers and Ben Shapiro's brother-in-law to do so. Right? Ben Shapiro's lawyers who have been suing me and my family for years because he can't earn, he has to steal. And the courts is a great way to do that. Violations. You violated a non-disparagement. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you into bankruptcy. You can't win without stealing. Well, Ben Shapiro made this admission, which was shocking, about what took place in that very short car ride, approximate 7-minute car ride to the hospital after Charlie got hit. Ben Shapiro was receiving live updates from somebody in that vehicle. Take a listen.
I remember where I was when all this was happening. I was in Los Angeles. I had sort of a breakfast/lunch meeting with somebody. And I got the news that Charlie had been shot, and my security was on the phone with Charlie's security because nobody knew what the hell was going on, while Charlie was still in the back of the car, and we were sort of getting updates along the way. There's visual timelines that show Charlie's body being carried to a vehicle within minutes of being shot. Apparently, he was still alive at the time. Again, I know that only because my security was talking to his security in the car.
Somebody make that make sense. Go ahead. You're going to have to become a conspiracy theorist to make that make sense. This is the enemy of Charlie Kirk is telling you that he was receiving live updates during 7 minutes, critical minutes, while Charlie was bleeding in the back seat, while Brian Harpole, let's go back and actually show our diagram. Brian Harpole stipulates that it couldn't have been him that was providing those updates because he was just packing like 40 feet of gauze into Charlie's neck. And it couldn't have been Rick Cutler because Rick Cutler had him. He had the tattoo. He was holding his brother. He saw the tattoo with two hands because the door was wide open because Charlie's so tall, he was hanging out. And there's evidence of that because they caught a police tail. Then we have Frank Turek. Now, his story, I will say, is a little complicated. We are told he was praying in the back seat, but also Frank says that he started CPR, but Brian Harpole says no such thing took place because CPR would have been the wrong thing to do while he was bleeding. Frank Turek is an option for sure. Yeah, Frank Turek is an option of someone who could have been statusing Ben Shapiro's security during this time. We've got Dan Flood and Justin Davis. Justin Davis was driving upwards to 100 miles per hour. I'm going to say he didn't phone Ben Shapiro's or answer the phone call of Ben Shapiro's security to update him because he was focused on the road. That would make the most sense. If the story that Brian Harpole told was true, that leaves us with Dan Flood. Either Dan Flood or Frank Turek were providing updates. But it couldn't have been Frank Turek. I'm sorry, I've lost my mind. Frank Turek left his kids on FaceTime. I'm so sorry. We're playing Guess Who right now. Frank Turek's down. He's down. Remember, his phone, he just didn't even realize while he was praying out loud, his kids were just left on the phone on FaceTime because that's what he was doing. So it can't be Frank. You're down. Bye-bye, Brian. Bye-bye, Rick Cutler. Justin and Dan. In this dark game of Guess Who? Which one of you guys called 911? Because they've never said who called 911 because the 911 calls that were released show that neither of them called 911. Is there a missing 911 call? Why would we not have it? That's public information. Who called 911? Someone called 911 and then called Ben's security or answered Ben's security's call and provided updates. So Ben knew what was happening before the rest of the world found out around 12:38 p.m. By the time that video began making the rounds, it was 12:38 p.m. If you go back and check on X, Ben knew sooner because someone in that car informed his security that Charlie had been hit. Rather than focusing on the chaos of trying to save Charlie's life, they said, you know what? 911 can wait. Ben needs an update right now. I know what my gut is telling me about Charlie's assassination. I've been clear on the fact that I believe Israel is involved, and I've been clear on the fact that there is something very dark about the history of Ben Shapiro, the way that he stalks and obsesses. I've made it clear on this show that it's getting to a point when you get fired from a company and for 2.5 years they stalk you via the court system, there's something that starts to feel dangerous about it. And I've been saying he's too close to this situation. Ben is just too close to this situation for someone who was not friends with Charlie Kirk. And the panic of which a bunch of influencers then tried to come out and persuade the public that this was normal, that they were all receiving that they're lying through their teeth. Tim Pool is lying through his teeth. He did not receive updates from somebody in that car about Charlie's status. Jeremy Boring, who just wanted to insert himself, jumped in and tried to pretend that it was my security that was getting those updates. I confirmed that that is a lie. They said they were not on the phone with anybody in that car during those crucial minutes. Okay? Jeremy Boring lied through his teeth. So who on Ben's IDF Israeli Mossad security apparatus team, former IDF, was receiving updates about Charlie's condition and why? And who was Ben Shapiro at lunch with? In fact, I'd like to know so much that if somebody can provide evidence of who he was at lunch with, because I have a hunch of who he was with in LA when this happened, I will put up $10,000 bounty on that piece of information. Tips at CandaceOwens.com. 10,000 bounty. Just want to know who he was at lunch with because I don't like this. I know what my gut has told me about the situation from the moment that it took place. I know what beyond my gut and beyond my dreams, the statement from Andrew Colbert, it was supposed to be you. Was it? Was it? Is it fair to ask if it's plausible that when Charlie was taken to the Hamptons, the phone call no one wants to address from Bibi Netanyahu, is it fair to ask the question if it was literally supposed to be me who was supposed to be back on tour with Charlie? Did he say no to killing Candace Owens? And then did he become a liability because he said no? What did Charlie turn down from Bibi Netanyahu while Erica was there? Again, the people that were present don't even want to acknowledge the phone call. I only got an acknowledgement that it happened from Erica in person, who then said, oh, he was just following up on a letter that Charlie wrote in May. Really? Bill Ackman's house, you put Bibi Netanyahu on the phone? And he's just like, hey, I got your letter. I want to talk about that letter from months ago. This feels like a good time. I don't buy it, guys. I think this is darker than we could ever imagine. I think Baron Coleman put it in the correct terms when he said Charlie said no to something way deeper and darker, to the Prince of Darkness himself. I do believe that. We're going to find out more. I am on top of that car. Do not stop investigating, okay? All of these side-tracking stuff, these reports coming out, trying to say this person, oh, even looking into this makes you put a target on air. Ignore the noise. Ignore the influencers. They have chosen a side, okay? They have made a decision to sell their souls, and their reward for that, selling your soul, will be eternal, okay? Ain't the reward you want, but it will be eternal. Eternal damnation is a reward of sorts, I suppose. That's my belief. Stay focused on this investigation. We will have so much more this week in terms of where we left off on what was going on in that car. We got an unbelievable tip about that piece, which we describe as looking like cardboard that was in the back. I believe this is what has caused the mass panic, the reports, the influencers attacking, naming me. It is meant to be a distraction, but I feel fortified right now, and I need the rest of you guys to as well. I need everybody to be focused, go max, get more information, keep pressing. They're already going to allow the trial to go through. Good. We will never get an opportunity to understand what rules over us than right now. Like this is the biggest opportunity for us to really stare this beast in the face. Everything is being exposed, just as Charlie expected. He said his death would be associated with a wider awakening. And let me tell you right now, my eyes are wide open. Your eyes are wide open. Keep them wide open. Keep sending tips. Again, I am looking for specific information regarding the timing of when the K-9 units were around. I know they were eventually sent on their way. They were not allowed to enter the courtyard. That also became clear in testimony that they immediately closed the courtyard off to anybody but the feds. The FBI took over that region. So we can now reasonably assume that the paver was telling the truth when he said that the FBI made the call, because only the FBI was allowed to make calls about what was going on in the courtyard. The FBI then kept the bomb dogs away from the courtyard. The FBI is evidently to me, in my opinion, engaged in a massive cover-up. I will tell you that I had a sense immediately that Charlie was betrayed. On September 10th, immediately I said he was betrayed. But I also had a sense they wouldn't get away with it. And I want to leave you with that optimistic note, because we're not going to have, maybe we have time today to get into comments. I don't know. We will take a brief break here, and we'll come right back and do a few comments, actually. All right, you guys, I recently announced that my family is growing. I feel like it's always growing, and we are, of course, expecting another baby boy. It is an exciting season, but it is also a reminder that every new chapter comes with new responsibilities. When more people are counting on you, protecting their future starts to matter in a whole different kind of way, and that's why life insurance has been one of those things that I have made a priority. It's an important step toward helping make sure that people you love have financial support if the unexpected ever happens. Life insurance is one of those things that's easy to put off, but having the right coverage can help provide financial protection and peace of mind for people that you love the most. Getting covered today is actually simpler, faster, and more affordable than many people actually realize, and that's why I love Ethos, because with Ethos, you can apply online in just minutes. There's no medical exams, no waiting rooms, just answer a few health questions, and you could be covered the very same day. What really stands out to me is that Ethos helps match with coverage that actually fits your life, your goals, your budget, with up to $3 million in coverage and plans starting around $30 a month. Protecting your family can feel much more doable. Peace of mind should not be complicated, so take 10 minutes to get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Candace. That is ethos.com/Candace. Application times may vary and rates may vary as well. I also want to remind you guys about American financing, because it is no secret that everything is starting to feel a lot more expensive. If those daily essentials are ending up on a credit card, those double-digit interest rates are quietly draining your bank account. If that debt is starting to feel heavy, you should know that you're not alone. If you're a homeowner, you've likely looked at your mortgage rate and thought, I can't touch that. But with American Financing's Smart Equity Loan, you should know that you don't have to, because it allows you to wipe out high interest debt and lower your monthly overhead while keeping your primary mortgage intact. It's a surgical strike against debt. Unlike a fluctuating HELOC, the Smart Equity Loan is a fixed rate loan, giving you a predictable monthly payment. At American Financing, there are never any upfront fees to find out what you qualify for, so you can talk to a salary-based consultant today, experts who are paid to help you save, not to sell you more than you need. There are no upfront fees to find out if you qualify, so call 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210, or visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Again, that is americanfinancing.net/Owens. The influencers are the mockingbird media of our day. Like CIA, Mockingbird, everyone say the same thing. I think we all see that now, but it's just not working. So I guess we're going to come to a point where, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? No one's believing them. They're spending a ridiculous amount of money on influencers. They've lost the crowd because they don't have the truth behind them. It's going to be interesting to see. Comments from today's episode. Melissa writes, I don't care what anyone says. The wait will be worth it. Welcome back from vacation, Candace. I can't wait to listen to this episode. I am wearing my Strike a Pose hoodie while tuning in tonight. I love you, Candace, and the team, and thank you for all that you've done. The fact that he texted, quote, some hate can't be negotiated out. People don't speak like that. It's ironic AF that Charlie was negotiating with Bibi, and couldn't be negotiated into supporting Israel any longer. I love you, Candace. Thank you so much. And I totally agree with you. It just reads to me like when you're new to a language and you're too formal, that's what it sounds like to me. And like I said, we have so much more to unpack this week, going back to the investigation. I do think some heads are going to roll. We will see. Zamet writes, we are Charlie. Indeed. New 2L writes, don't hold back, Candace. You're the last voice that he's got. Go Max girl. I'm not. It's actually all of you guys around the world too. It's a chorus now. And that's their problem, is I may have been maybe the loudest because it mattered deeply to me, but I am certainly not alone. And I appreciate you guys for that. Amy Riddle writes, I'm from New Zealand. I have a first-class honors law degree and accounting degree, so I am not stupid. I have yet to see any clear evidence, just screenshots and hearsay. But what I do see is highly suspicious behavior from Turning Point USA and Erica. I cannot wait to get into Blake Neff not remembering a lot of important things regarding what he did on the morning of September 10th and the evening of September 10th. That's interesting. We're going to get into Turning Point falling apart tomorrow, and their blatant lies, crazy, the covering that's going on. I very much sense that they are nervous, and it feels like back against the wall, lashing out. Yeah, I will leave it at that. And it's incredible what he admitted to or didn't admit to. Tarmac hug. It's all back on the table, ladies and gentlemen. Blatant writes, greetings, beautiful people. Christos, vincit, Christos, regnat, Christos imperat. Christ conquers, Christ reigns, and Christ commands. And I really need to work on my Latin. Sarah D writes, found an Australian article reporting police were investigating an accomplice, but that angle disappeared. Some other stuff disappeared too. There was some other stunning testimony that we're going to get in tomorrow. Now, Andrew Colbert is reviving it, likely due to growing support for Tyler Robinson, throwing Lance Twiggs to the Wolves. Yeah, I saw that too. They're like, well, what do you guys mean? Like, do you think that maybe Lance Twiggs? Yeah, we've been saying for a long time that Lance Twiggs is a federal asset. Like, why are you guys acting like all you guys kept saying was, oh, they dreamed it? Like, we have not spent hours upon hours upon hours for serious research that's been happening. People driving down to locations, speaking to people. Amazingly, Diligent Dennison went and spoke to the waiter down in Panguitch. More is going to be coming out about that. And then they just keep pretending like it's all a joke. Like they were just going to keep this up and feed slop. Oh, Candace is Miss Cleo. She dreamed it. Oh, look at this old clip of Candace making fun of herself regarding thunder and lightning. See, she's dumb. Did you guys really think that was going to work? Who's making these decisions in the boardroom? Like, who's the idiot that thinks that that is going to be sufficient enough to stop this investigation? I told you guys from the very beginning, Charlie went out and a light bulb came on. The dreams he was having in 2018 that were vivid, I started having vivid dreams right after he was taken out. And no, I'm not ashamed of them. Keep playing the clips. Keep playing the clips. Because this feels so much bigger right now. It's definitely bigger than me. It's as big as Charlie predicted it, like I said. Cheryl Wells writes, my mom died this past Christmas Eve and was a strong supporter of Israel. Watching this, I hope in heaven that she finally knows. Thank you for all that you do. Yeah, I think about that sometimes too, of people who just genuinely didn't understand how evil that nation is. And now just so much is being revealed, and it's for them. They don't know how to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Amara Musa writes, you can't do CPR on a car seat without a backboard. Yep, we mentioned that. The order should have been call 911 and stop bleeding, stabilize the neck. Anything else is criminal medical malpractice. Did the team have EMT licenses? If so, we can report them to the licensing board. I think somebody emailed me and said they dug up Brian's and it was from like 1996 and that he should have had one in the state of Utah. I mean, we're looking into it. I don't know if any of that's true, but I would agree with you. Obviously, I'm being sued for saying that what they did was incompetent. And now when you add a call to Ben Shapiro's security team in those critical moments, I think I have a pretty strong case that it was incompetent, what they did. Just looking at the photos of how they didn't hold his neck at all, because I think they were trying to hold his shirt. Again, more on that this week. Truth Prevail writes, missed you the past 2 weeks. If the trial is televised, you should do a live stream with Barron. There was so much in the prelim that screamed slop, like how the kid with the limp switched legs. Lance is sus, and he seems like an MK Ultra op. Keep going, Max. I personally think that Lance is blackmailed. Based on the conversations I've had about Lance, he was into some weird internet stuff. Easy person to blackmail. And to get himself out of something, he threw in Tyler Robinson. That's my opinion. I do believe that Tyler Robinson was around campus on that day. I do believe he was at the Dairy Queen, that he was depositing clothes, which could have been his part. I don't know, maybe Lance told him to do that, showing up for his boyfriend. All of that will come out in the trial if they allow the trial to go forward for the next 5 years. This is what trials take. That's going to be the length of this trial, right? And what I mean by that is I believe the judge will grant it. But what I am wondering is, are they going to take Tyler out? What is this weird narrative they're now trying? I think Erica's life, if there's ever any danger toward Erica's life, it's not on the basis of what I've said. It's on the basis of what they're now putting out as a narrative. This whole idea. I have a bad feeling about that. We're going to talk about more of that tomorrow, but I want to be very clear, as I always have been. I don't want any harm to happen to Erica Kirk. I have never called for people to harm Erica Kirk. I don't even believe in the death penalty. I think the death penalty I've always maintained is just too easy for people who harm children. Like a pedophile, they just get to go to sleep effectively, and people have to deal with the trauma of what they've done to them. That's just one example. So no, I have never called for Erica to be harmed. But the fact that they are trying to aggressively assert that narrative, somebody said to me, like, what if they try to harm Erica and then blame you? Like, that's what it kind of seems like they're planting seeds for. Is that possible? Yeah, it is possible. Desperate feds, desperate measures. So if I was Erica, I wouldn't be trusting the people around me. I want my own security for sure. These people are dangerous. She knows that. I wouldn't want them to get desperate, and I think they are desperate, and they showed that this past week. So I will leave it at that. This person writes, oh, I think I read that. We are Charlie. I got that. I want to make sure I read everybody's comments here. Oh, I think that was it. That's it. So if you would like to support our show, we have merch available on our website. As always, you can go to CandaceOwens.com. It's the easiest way to support the show. You can sign up for book club. I am, like I said, feeling very refreshed finally for, I think, the first time since September 10th. I didn't realize how badly I really needed to take a break. And yeah, I really do feel stronger than ever. I was just literally sitting in a spa with Carrie, and we were just like firing off tweets. like I'm just ready for this. I'm built for this. I'm ready for this. I feel like everything in my life has brought me to this moment, and I have so much more to share this week, you guys. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you guys at home, just for your continued support. And I see you guys fighting for me, especially this week when the simulation could not have been more obvious. Attack Candace with everything you've got. Okay, great. I'm ready for it. We will see you guys tomorrow.